Hey all, I hope you are well today. If you've been following the latest political and economic developments in the US, you'll know that there's been quite a bit of buzz in Washington this week, and it's all about tariffs, trade, and power. Yeah, that might sound a little dry at first, but trust me, this one's got all the ingredients of a political showdown: Senate votes, Republican splits, executive power debates, and a few unexpected alliances. So, grab your coffee, because this story about the Senate taking on President Trump's trade policies is more interesting than it might seem. So here's what's going on. The U.S. Senate just narrowly passed a bill that would repeal President Trump's tariffs on Brazil, a move that's stirring up some serious conversations about how far a president's trade powers should go. This isn't just about economics, it's about politics, authority, and how much control one person should have over decisions that affect global trade and, ultimately, your wallet. The resolution passed with bipartisan support, which, as you know, is pretty rare these days. A handful of Republican senators, including Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, and Rand Paul, joined Democrats to back this repeal. That's a significant move, considering tariffs have been one of President Trump's signature economic tools. Remember, he used tariffs not just as a trade strategy, but as leverage in negotiations and even political pressure points. But the Senate's message this time? Enough is enough. They're saying that the way these tariffs were imposed, through emergency powers, stretches executive authority too far. And honestly, that's an argument that hits at the heart of how U.S. government power is supposed to work. Should one person really have the power to decide which countries get hit with heavy tariffs, without Congress even having a say?
What do you think about that?
Should trade decisions like this be shared power? Or do you think the president should have that flexibility to act fast? Now, the vote wasn't just about Brazil. Lawmakers are already lining up for the next round, a very similar bill targeting Canada. Yep, Canada. The former president recently announced an additional 10% tariff on Canadian imports, and that's caused even more frustration among lawmakers who think these policies are alienating some of America's closest trading partners. Imagine slapping tariffs on your next-door neighbor and expecting everything to stay friendly. So, why did this happen? Well, there's a bigger picture here. The former president used a national emergency declaration to justify these tariffs, something that's usually reserved for, actual emergencies. By doing that, he bypassed Congress and was able to impose tariffs directly. For supporters of President Trump, that's decisive leadership, taking bold steps without waiting for the bureaucracy to catch up. But critics argue it's an overreach, that it undermines the balance of power and can have ripple effects on trade, prices, and international relationships. Here's something to think about. When leaders use emergency powers for economic policies, where should the line be drawn? Emergencies give presidents extraordinary powers, but if those powers start being used for regular trade decisions, are we stretching that definition too far? During a closed-door meeting before the vote, Vice President J.D. Vance reportedly urged Republicans not to support the repeal. He said removing this authority would strip away incredible leverage from the president. And that word leverage is key here. Tariffs, when used strategically, can be powerful bargaining tools. But when they're used too often or too broadly, they can also backfire, raising prices for consumers, angering allies, and hurting industries that rely on imports. Just think about how that affects everyday life. Those tariffs can increase the cost of everything from cars to electronics to groceries. You might not see it right away, but those costs trickle down, and that's why this debate isn't just happening in Washington. It's happening at the checkout counter, too. So, if this bill to repeal the Brazil tariffs goes all the way, and that's still a big if, what happens next? Well, it could ease tensions with Brazil, which has been pushing back hard against the tariffs. It might also signal to other trading partners like Canada that Congress is ready to step in when it feels executive power is going too far. But even if the Senate passes the next bill targeting Canada, it's unlikely to go anywhere fast. The House of Representatives hasn't been quick to take up similar tariff repealing measures, and even if they do, President Trump could easily veto the resolution. So, this isn't the end of the story. It's more like a new chapter in the ongoing tug-of-war between Congress and the White House over trade authority. And that's what makes it fascinating. It's not just about economics, it's about checks and balances, a fundamental principle of American democracy. Now, here's another thought. Some people see this as Congress finally standing up to the president's aggressive trade tactics. Others see it as Congress getting in the way of a strategy that's supposed to protect American jobs and industries. So, which side do you agree with? Do you think these tariffs help America assert strength on the global stage, or do they just end up hurting American consumers and allies? At the end of the day, what's happening right now in the Senate is more than a policy debate. It's a test of how far executive power can go before Congress decides to pull it back. The Brazil repeal may be symbolic for now, but it's definitely sending a message that the balance of power in Washington still matters. And it also shows us something interesting. Even in a polarized political climate, there are still moments when lawmakers can come together across party lines to say enough. Whether you agree with them or not, that's a rare thing these days, and it's worth paying attention to. So, what do you think? Is Congress right to step in and curb these tariff powers, or should the president be free to use tariffs whenever necessary to protect American interests? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear what you all think about this one, because it's one of those debates that affects everyone, whether you realize it or not. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated on US politics and global developments, don't forget to give this video a like, share it with your friends, and of course, hit that subscribe button. Your support really helps the channel grow and keeps these discussions going. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.